Okay, welcome back to our next little episode here. Today we're talking about the control pause. Now, I mentioned the control pause already in a few other lectures. Remember, this is going to be your primary objective measurement you're going to use to measure your own progress. So I'll explain it as we go along, but this is kind of really important because this is basically something you're going to be doing pretty much every day. There we go. So the control pause is the main objective measurement that we're going to use to measure progress, like I just said. So learning and mastering kind of how to do this is going to really be necessary to measure your level of success kind of through working through these exercises. So learning how to do it is absolutely kind of what's needed. This is going to, again, like I said, this is going to be a tool that you use every single day. So before measuring the control pause, generally it's a good idea to be at rest for 5 to 10 minutes before actually taking it. So whether you're sitting down or you're just getting up out of bed, these would be good times to kind of measure the control pause. It's probably not a good time to do it, right after exercise. You kind of want to rest a little bit before you get started in it. And to do the control pause, and there will be other videos showing this, but I'll just kind of talk it through right now, is to take a small kind of normal silent breath in, as you can see on this picture on the bottom here, through the nose, out through the nose. And then at the bottom of that breath, once you let go of the air, you're going to pinch your nose like this, and you're going to hold it. Now, the important thing to note here is that you're not holding this as long as possible. You're holding it until you feel the first distinct desire to breathe in. So that may be a spasm of the diaphragm or your stomach or your belly or your neck muscles, or you just might get that real urge to breathe. After that, you let go of your nose and you return to breathing in and out through the nose. Now, the goal is you should return to fairly normal breathing. The return breath should be pretty common. It shouldn't be erratic all over the place. It should return to a normal breath in and out. So again, the measurement ends at the first distinct desire to breathe in. Now, you may feel those involuntary muscle movements that I mentioned before, whether it's the diaphragm, whether it's the belly, whether it's the neck, could be any of those. If you feel one of those, that is where the measurement ends. So whether you're using, a cell phone to measure it or a stopwatch or something like that, that's where the measurement ends. When you return to breathing, like I said, it should be calm. You should be able to return to normal breathing within 1 to 2 breath cycles. And then again, the goal here is to use this as your objective measurement. So this is something you're going to be consistently doing every day or so. You're going to be measuring this. Now, why do we use the control pause? Why this? Why not some other measurement? What we find is this is a pretty good measure to figure out where we're at from a health standpoint when it comes to lung capacity. So when the control pause is less than 20 seconds, you're going to feel those main symptoms. Maybe you'll have a blocked nose. You might snore, insomnia, fatigue, coughing, wheezing, breathlessness, or exercise-induced asthma. Now, as the control pause continues to improve in that 20 to 40 second range, you will start noticing some of those symptoms will begin to dissipate or maybe even disappear, unless you're exposed to like a specific trigger that brings them on, whether it's environmental or stress or something else kind of out of your control that can kind of bring that back in. The goal is going to be to get the control pause at least up until 40 seconds. Now, once you get into 40 seconds plus, you're going to rarely feel symptoms. And if they are present, then it's time to look a little bit deeper. Is there some sort of gut imbalance? Is there other health factors that we need to address? Is it nervous system? Is it gut? Is there some other things that we kind of have to go on, look at, and work through? What is important to know is roughly around for every 5-second increase in your control pause, you'll start feeling better. If there is no change in the control pause. If the control pause does not change, then chances are your symptoms will not be changing either. Now, during the first 2 to 3 weeks, control pause may increase by 3 to 4 seconds per week. That's generally going to happen more often when the control pause is really low when you're starting. So generally you're going to be under 20, maybe under 15. You could get a big bump quick. But once you reach 20 seconds, that progression is going to slow down quite a bit. So it's not something to get, worried about. That's just kind of how it works. So it's not uncommon, to be stuck around the 20-second mark for a long time. Why? It's because usually at that point, once you reach 20 seconds, the exercises are still good and very helpful, but it's the time where you absolutely need to start incorporating some form of physical exercise. So if you are not physically active, if you are not moving your body on a regular basis and pushing yourself a little bit, it's going to be hard to get to from 20 to 40 seconds. You have to have some sort of consistent physical exercise regimen to improve these numbers. So moving your body is literally going to improve this on its own once you reach a certain threshold. Now, like I said, the most accurate time to measure usually is first thing in the morning because you kind of haven't started. There aren't any other breaks. You can take it throughout the day. But again, try to be consistent when you're taking it. So if you take it at night before bed, try to do it every night before bed or in the morning. Try to be consistent with the times and kind of where you're going, fit it into your routine in that way. Now, what can slow down your progress? Now, being overweight can do it. That's going to put more stress on the lungs and the breathing apparatus in general. If we're not handling stress very well, if we don't have appropriate outlets, if we're not, dealing with it, whether it's, physical, chemical, or emotional stress, if we're not dealing with it appropriately, whether it be through neuro-linguistic programming or ESR or NET or any number, EMDR, any number of, therapies, just simply talking with someone about it, all of that's going to be really helpful. It can slow down your progress. Lack of physical activity we just talked about. If there are chronic infections, then that might be another thing we kind of have to look at underneath to make sure that we're, getting to the root of what's going on and seeing what's halting that progress. If you've had things for a long time, say like asthma, you have to realize that for every year or so you've had something, it's generally going to take a month or so to heal from it. So if you've had something for say 10 years, it's going to take around 10 to 12 months to roughly get better. So you have to give yourself a realistic time frame when you're kind of going through this. Now, what to expect kind of based on where your control pause is at. Now, if you're around 10 seconds, you're going to notice your breathing is pretty normal. It's going to be erratic, irregular. It's going to kind of be all over the place. You can kind of see that with this graph here. There's no real rhythm. There's no real smoothness. Everything's kind of rigid and it's probably very loud and it's probably a lot of effort. You're going to get a lot of movement from those muscles kind of up in the shoulders, and it's not going to be the most comfortable. Once we get up to 20, you'll start seeing you're going to get a little bit more of a smoother line, a smoother kind of flow to your breath. It could still be intense, but it's going to be much calmer than 10 seconds. You'll notice that you might even feel a natural pause in between breaths. And that's going to be, a huge improvement from kind of where we started. Once you get to 30, you'll see that this starts to get stretched out even more. We're going to have even slower, more diaphragmatic breaths in. We're going to have longer passive exhalations. And that natural pause is going to get a bit longer as well. And then 40 seconds, again, we're taking that to an even bigger extreme where those pauses are a bit longer. Still going to have that small breath in that is virtually unnoticeable. And then a relaxed passive breath out. So the question is then, how do we use this to kind of leverage where we're at? Again, using the control pause is our primary objective measurement. So really mastering this is going to be key to kind of tracking your progress. So we need to get over this idea of big breathing. We just need to start nasally breathing and, more importantly, diaphragmatic breathing. You want to try to avoid yawning between big breaths and avoid sighing. So these are things to kind of be cognizant of. Those, again, are types of big breathing. When you open and go through a yawn, that's essentially a big breath in and out. Step 2 is going to be adding in reduced breathing exercises. We will get into those. And then step 3 is adding in the physical activity, which is once the control pause reaches 20 seconds, we start including step 3, getting that physical exercise in so that we can start utilizing some of the exercises we're going to learn with your physical exercise routine. So that's how we get the most out of the control pause. That's kind of the big picture perspective of where we're at. See you guys. Hope this makes sense. I'll see you guys in the next video.